Now, what I was told about that, Chris, was that they called you the vending machine because you were just open to doing anything and everything. But you said there's a different reason why they called you that.
Well, yes, because I was at the time selling drugs, and so whatever someone needed to, I could sell it to them. Therefore,
Okay.
I was the vending machine.
Okay. So you're like that guy, like, I don't know if you've ever seen, because I'm old, but like the movie Shawshank Redemption is like the guy who can get you things.
Everyone talks about that movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, it's a
I
classic.
know. I need to see it.
You have to see. It's a really good movie. Anyway, there's a guy in jail. It's Morgan Freeman, and he's like the guy you go to who can get you things. You're like the Morgan Freeman at your college.
Well, I'll take that.
Okay, so you're going to college. You're being a businessman. Okay, you got a brand, the vending machine.
Sure.
Okay, what happened that led from that going on to you having to come to see us? Like, where did things go wrong?
Yeah, so my whole addiction story kind of began in high school, and then I started selling drugs just to be able to afford to use them. And in college, it kind of became a little bit more than that. And I was rushing a fraternity, which is the start of every good story, I feel like.
Right.
And long story short, we're going on a trip, and some of my friends wanted me to bring drugs for them on the trip, etc. And long story short, on our way back from this trip, we ended up getting pulled over. Cops searched the vehicle because they could smell drugs, and I ended up claiming them, getting arrested. And this was October of 2017 when I got arrested. And so I got arrested, was in there for, 2 days maybe, and then got bailed out. Had to wait an entire year for my court date. So October of 2018 is when I actually went to court. And once I got, I don't know the terminology for it, but I got put on probation. And that's when I moved up here.
Part of the requirement was like having to go.
Yes, I had
some kind of program or something like that. Okay, exactly. That's how you got to us.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, all right. So you got that legal charge. That's ultimately what kind of put the halt to it. Was it causing any other trouble in your life? Like, did it cause trouble with your grades? Did it cause relationship trouble? Did it?
All the above. But at the time, I was unaware of that, and I ultimately ended up dropping out of college. So it definitely impacted college, and I wasn't focused on school. I had so much other stuff going on, and it just wasn't really a priority to me. And in terms of relationships with other people, I never really did anyone wrong, because I never stole from anyone or anything like that, because fortunately I had capital. But I started to neglect relationships around me, absolutely, and they just stopped becoming a priority.
Okay, so the friends or the relatives or whoever just kind of fell away.
That's right.
And stopped nurturing.
I can remember my brother one time calling me in college, and I would always ignore his calls, and not intentionally, but I was just doing stuff or whatever, caught up in the lifestyle. And I think it was maybe he was calling me probably once every few days, and 3 months of me not answering, I texted him. I said, "Hey, I'm in the middle of something. What's up?" He's like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get in touch with you because I haven't heard from you in months. Been trying to call you." And that kind of just highlighted to me, holy cow! I just don't even talk to my family or care in a sense when I'm caught up in that lifestyle. So that's more of how it impacted relationships.
Just completely disconnected.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, did your family have any idea what was going down?
My brother, yes.
Your brother, okay.
But my parents, not really. I think at one point my brother actually told my mom I was going down a pretty bad path in terms of what I was using, but I don't think she didn't know the full extent of it, and I still don't even think she knows the full extent of this. Jen, I love you if you watch this.
She does not get you. Okay. So she kind of heard from your brother, hey, Chris is getting in some bad situations or whatever, but didn't really know the details of it.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Did she say anything to you about it?
Well, yeah, I can remember one time I was at the lake, and I think she went through my bag after Andrea told her about this. I think she found some pills or something I had. I can't fully remember it. But she knew, but it was also kind of what can you do?
Right. Plus, it's like, well, he's in college. He's probably just.
That's right. And so she lived up here in Greenville, and I was going to school down in Atlanta. So she was a state away, and it was. I mean, you can't really prevent it from happening.
Right. What'd she say to you about the pills? Did she say anything?
Honestly, I don't really remember.
You don't remember? You blacked it out?
No, it was just just living in the daze all the time. I don't fully remember what transpired with that. I think she just kind of was like, pissed, and like as a parent, you just say you can't do this, and then it's,
like regular mom, like what the crap?
Right,
like
exactly.
what are you doing down there? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so we'll fast forward a little bit.
Sure.
You have this legal charge. It finally goes to court, and then part of what you have to do is get some treatment. So you come to Greenville and you see us. What'd you think about us?
I enjoyed going to group. It was always fun to me. It sounds terrible, but everyone's airing out their drama, and it's like, wow, that's a crazy story.
Yeah,
and
it really is like that.
I mean, I enjoyed it, and I am one of those people that I enjoy growth and becoming more. And so I actually would go into the group sessions or even the one-on-one sessions and want to become better.
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoyed it, and
Okay. So the group he was in, we ran an intensive outpatient program, and so you had to come to group like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a commitment. Yeah. Like, it was a big deal, right? But you're right. I mean, our group was fun, and you get invested in the characters, and you kind of keep having to show up because you got to find out, like, did so and so get trouble with their mom? Did so and so tell his wife or whatever?
That's right.
It's like your show. You can't miss the episode. It kind of brings you in there, right? Okay. So you're in there, and you didn't not enjoy going, but you did. I mean, from what I remember, you had a different spin on the recovery process. You weren't like
it. Yeah, I didn't subscribe to the 12-step and all of that, and it was different for me because getting arrested and put on probation was kind of a wake-up call for me. And when I moved up here, I had never lived here before, and I didn't have any friends here. I didn't know anyone here. I had no connections here. And so at first it was kind of difficult because I'd be watching my friends in college still, like on social media, like having a big party. It's like, damn, I wish I was there, kind of thing.
Right.
But I think between being on probation and being away from that environment, I kind of got to the point where addiction was no longer really an option for me. Because I sat there and I said, well, I don't even know where to find anything like to buy drugs from someone. And I'm also on probation. I don't want to violate that because I don't want to go back to jail.
Right.
And so that, I think, scared me out of addiction in a sense. That became a larger priority to me than doing drugs. It's staying out of trouble.
Right.
Because I think if I had violated probation, I think I was going to be put in jail for like 10 years. And I was like,
that's big.
Yeah. So I was like, I'd rather not do that.
Rather not. Good choice.
Yeah.
So you bring up a good point because you're saying like I came and then basically I didn't have any access to it. And I had this big consequence hanging over my head. So eventually I just sort of came around to the idea of not using drugs. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It didn't seem like an option in a way.
When you first came back or came to Greenville or whatever, in your mind, did you think, okay, I'm gonna be sober because I got to get through this probation? Or were you like, whatever, I'm just going to check these boxes? What were you thinking?
It was definitely, when I first got up here, I think it was more of, I'm going to be sober until I'm off probation and then I'll go back kind of doing whatever I want to do. Okay. And that later changed. But starting out, that's kind of the mindset I had, was I'm just going to do my time while I have to and then go back to party animal after that. Okay,
I just got to get through this. I got to do what I'm supposed to do, get out of this trouble, and then I'm going back to the same lifestyle.
Exactly, yeah.
The reason I think that's important for you guys to hear is because I say this all the time, like, you don't have to want recovery. And a lot of people don't decide that they want to stay sober until they already are sober. So whatever it is that kind of puts you in that situation where you're sober long enough for your thinking to clear, then most people decide to stay sober after they've gotten sober, usually because they had to for some reason.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Okay. So now this is the funny part of your story where it sort of diverges from a lot of stories, right? Okay. Sure. So Chris is in group. Now, let me ask you this. I've never asked you. When you were in college, were you studying business? Surely you had to be because you're like a businessman at heart.
I I didn't really go to class, to be honest with you.
Okay. So officially, did you have a major though?
I switched around like 3 times. I don't remember where I think I landed on like finance or something.
Okay.
So along the same lines.
Okay. That's what I figured, because you just sort of like that kind of an entrepreneur at heart, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you would come to group and everybody would be talking about the drama, and you'd be talking about making money.
Yeah.
And everyone would make fun of you, and people would actually confront you and get on your case and be like, this isn't about that. You know, they would get like the hardcore like recovery, and they would come at you. And I try to have your back. I'm like, no, dude, he can make money.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And so then I was like, I got this book, which I had read before, and it's called Millionaire Fast Lane. I was like, Chris, I want you to read this book.
Yeah.
So then what happened? So you read the book?
Yeah, I read that book, and I don't remember how I really got on the whole I want to be successful train. I think I was probably just bored and sober. I was like, I need something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read that book, and in that book, I think you missed it, but they have a forum, and he sends you to a website, go check it out. So I joined the forum and was reading a lot of people's stories and things like that. And I don't know what really piqued my interest in it, but I was like, wow, I want to be successful. I want to find a way to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I had dropped out of college. I had been arrested. I was sitting in my mom's basement, and I was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world am I doing here?
Yeah.
So yeah, then that kind of became, I guess, my outlet or an obsession in a way.
Yeah, you got like jazzed up, and then you would come to group and you'd be like, I'm being a millionaire by 30.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I'm gonna go to the Tony Robbins conference. Like, this is my like dream. I'm gonna do it. And people in group didn't even know who that.
That's right. Yeah.
They were just like, this kid is crazy.
Yeah.
And they would just kind of like laugh at you.
That's right. A lot of that.
Well, not like mean, but like laugh and just giggle at you. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, right.
Like,
okay, dude, like you're delusional, or how you could think you're gonna do that. And it took me, I think, a long time to realize they were really just expressing their own limiting beliefs, because they don't believe that you can do that.
That's my boy. I love it. That's right.
And
limiting beliefs.
That's a lot of it. But yeah, I would go in there and I think they thought I was talking in Chinese, because I'd be talking about Tony Robbins and, where I wanted to go in life. And I don't think a lot of people resonated with that. And it wouldn't even pass it. I mean, I had a part-time job at the time, and I would talk to them about it and be like, dude, shut up. Like, 'cause I was working with like 40-year-olds, and they were like, dude, you're not going to be a millionaire by like 25 or whatever it was.
Like millennial or rather.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you come to group, and everybody else would be talking about their drama. And then I remember you said, I'm going to start a business. And then you're like, it's going to be a pressure washing business. And you would come to group, you talk about the pressure washing business, all the things you were doing, and almost like became like a mastermind brainstorming for your business or whatever.
Yeah, not the best advisors. I wouldn't recommend brainstorming in group therapy.
Okay.
But yeah, that was kind of the start of it for me. I wanted to start something that was didn't require a lot of funds. It was easy to do, and I don't know. I saw it as an easy barrier to entry. So I started that. I would go to group, talk about it. People would laugh at me, say I was silly and all that. And I think that was 2019. Summer of 2019 is when I started the pressure washing business. And I was still working a part-time job, like I said. And so I would like take my pressure washer to work with. It's like take your pressure washer to work day.
You guys, he was a hustler.
Yeah.
Like you looked at Chris, he was hustling a deal.
That's right. Yeah, because I would go to work, but I would get off at 2. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go pressure wash this house afterwards. Mm-hmm. And so I would like take my pressure washer. I worked at this like hardware store. And so I would like roll my pressure washer in and put it in the bag. I'm like, sorry guys, like I got to use it later today. And so I was doing that for a little while, and January 2020, I like quit the part-time job to do pressure washing full time, which is the worst time to be a full-time pressure washer in the middle of winter. Well, that too, but in the middle of winter, who wants their house washed when it's 30 degrees outside? True. And so I was doing that, and I didn't really know where I was going with it. And, one thing kind of led to another. And one of those guys on the forum from that Fastlane book, he was like a marketing guy. And so I was posting on there about my pressure washing business. And at this time, I think I was like, I don't know, making $2,000 a month, like not a lot of money. And I was like, I need to figure out how to grow this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a post on that forum saying, I'm trying to learn how to market this company, blah, 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 blah. And this guy reaches out to me. He said, hey, I saw your post on there and I'm starting a marketing company. Would you be interested if I could do Facebook ads for you? You pay for the ad spend. And I just want at the end of this to do a case study on your results to help me grow my company.
Yeah.
I was like, well, fair enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
And so he crafted the ad and all that. And I was paying, I said, dude, I'm kind of broke. So I'll do $10 a day, which is $300 a month is what I would spend on Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
The first month, it was March of 2020 when we started this. The first month, I think I made $250. So I lost $50.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, something's got to change. And so I saw this guy, like one of my competitors, his Facebook ad. And it was a video of him like talking about how he was washing a house and he'd show the people how he does it. And he had like hundreds of comments of like, hey, come do my house, blah, 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 blah. And so I was talking, this guy's name was Rich. And I said, Rich, look at this guy's ad. Something's working here. And so he's like, okay, let's do another one.
Yeah, they call that content marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I went in there and I basically copied this guy's ad. So I did a video of me washing a house and telling people how I did it and all that. And then next month, I think I did like $8,000 in business.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, dude, I can spend $300 to make $8,000. That's pretty awesome.
It's like 4 times. That's
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
so from there, it just kind of exploded from that Facebook ad.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I don't know how long you want me to carry on about this, but I ultimately started washing this guy's house that owned a lot of real estate. And he, one day sat down with me. He's like, you're a young guy. Like, what are your goals, kind of thing? And I said, well, I think it'd be cool to make $100,000 in a year. And he's like, dude, you're going to be a tired boy if you're doing that pressure washing. Like, that's a lot of houses to wash. And he's like, you should look at real estate. And so long story short, I ended up, sitting down in his office, and I didn't know this at the time, but he was trying to recruit me to become a realtor.
Okay.
And
he was working you.
He wanted to recruit me.
Okay.
And I didn't know that, but along the way, I learned a lot about the investment side of real estate, because that's what really piqued my interest. Not so much listing someone's house, but owning the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of planted the seed in me. And from there, and at the same time in March 2020, when the world shut down, I took that time to also start learning about real estate. So I was reading books and listening to podcasts, all that. And so that guy kind of opened my eyes to the world of real estate. That's ultimately where I ended up.
And that's how, and then real estate thing happened. And then you sent me a text last week that says, Amber, I made my goal, but I made it by 24 and not 30.
Yeah.
I'm like, you made $1 million.
Yep.
And I was like, what? And then I was going to text him. I was like, no, I'm going to have to call him. And then I called him because I was so excited for you.
Yeah. Well, Amber was like one of the few people that actually believed in me at the time.
Oh, yeah. I was all about it.
And you gave me the book that kickstarted everything. So I was like, I got to let Amber know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I was washing houses 2020. And then August of 2020, I bought my first house, and I basically saved up all my money pressure washing, and I bought a duplex. And this, for those that don't know, it's basically 2 units, one on each side of a house. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to live in one side, and I'm going to rent out the other, and they'll cover my mortgage. And so my mortgage is like $1,100. So I lived in one side and rented out the other for like $1,050. So I had to spend $50 a month to live there. And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Like, if I move out, I could rent my side and maybe make $800 or $900 a month. And so that, once I bought that, it was like, whoa, like this is really, really cool. And from there, I went back to that realtor guy that kind of introduced me to it. He helped me buy that house. And then I was telling him, I want to own more houses. I don't necessarily want to list them. How can I?
You're like, I want to go big.
Yeah, I want to buy them.
I want to go big. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was August of 2020. And then in November of 2020, I bought a mobile home park, which was the second.
A whole mobile home park?
Yeah, I went from a duplex to a mobile home park.
And okay, you're like how old?
I'm
in 2020.
22.
Okay. So I just want to slow down for a second here. In 2019, you have to drop out of college and come to IOP with us, right?
Yeah.
And this is 3 years later, 2 years. I'm not gonna
3 years now. Yeah.
Okay, you bought a mobile home park.
Yeah.
This is like, and I was wondering, you did this by yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like he did this. He figured it out. He researched. He hustled. You guys, he was going door to door. He was leaving cars. Like this kid put the work in.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
you did. Like,
it was. I mean, but it was a lot of frustration along the way because I was very impatient. And I still am. You know, I want to get it right now. I want to find a way to make it happen. And I think that was actually one of my positive traits because I think that's what gets me up every day to say, I need to go figure out how to get more today.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the mobile home park, I didn't qualify for bank financing because I didn't have 2 years of tax returns doing my business pressure washing.
Baby.
Yeah, and I don't have any credibility.
Like teenager.
And so I was like, okay, I need to like find a way to leverage other people. And so I would get some people to co-sign on loans at the bank for me, or I would borrow their money to buy houses, and that's a whole nother story. So I got my girlfriend at the time to co-sign on the loan to get me the mobile home park, and that thing turned out to be a disaster. I mean, I still own it, but at the time it was a disaster because I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
You know, and I'm just young, and these guys are, you know, I mean, you're dealing with old people sometimes too, and they're like, "How old are you, son?" You know, you're like,
they don't even take you serious.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Whatever,
Anyway, so I bought that in November of 2020, and I at the same time got my real estate license because that guy talked me into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got licensed, and for, I don't know, from November 2020 to February 2021, I was trying to be a real estate agent, and I quickly discovered I did not like that. It was not fun. I like sitting there like putting deals together. I don't like talking to Granny about this nice kitchen and why she should buy this house. You know, I mean,
right.
That just wasn't my speed.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the brokerage that I was working at, I met this older lady that she did a lot of investment stuff as well. And so she was kind of telling me about this thing called wholesaling real estate. And to make a long story short, what it is if you find a house for $100,000, I go get that under contract to buy it. And I may have an investor that wants to buy that house for $110,000, and so I can sell him the right to buy it. I can sell him the contract,
like a middleman.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm under contract at 100. I sell it to him for 110. I make 10 grand,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, "That's cool."
Now you're excited.
Yeah, now I was excited.
Okay.
Again. And so February 2021, I started working with this lady. Her name was Maria. And she kind of helped show me the ropes. Here's how you do it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so I would then cold call every day, just different homeowners around the area trying to get their property and buy it at a discount and sell it to someone else at a higher price.
Are you like the guy, like when I drive around and I see these like signs that says we buy
Literally,
houses?
that's what
that's
this
you?
is. That's
when I see the signs?
I don't put the signs out, but that's what I do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what these people are doing that have
okay.
the signs. And so I would I would talk to some old lady. She's like, yeah, I'll sell my house. You know, I want $100,000 for it. And I would go to Maria and say, hey, like this person wants $100,000. Like, I don't know if that's a good deal or not. I don't really know what I'm doing. And so Maria kind of helped guide me for a few months there. And so we did, I think like 3 transactions, and I made, I think like 25 grand. I was like, whoa, like,
wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'd have to wash like 100 houses to make this. And so I got pretty hooked on it. And so August of 2021, so exactly a year ago, I said, okay, well, like I'm going to start doing this on my own kind of. And so I continued to call around. That was like my main thing, was just cold calling people. And it was terrible, but I had to like discipline myself every morning to show up, sit down and call these people.
Okay. If y'all don't know what cold calling means, tell them, because it is freaking tell them what that means.
Yeah. So basically you can get a list of property owners, and that's another discussion. And what I would do is sit down and call them, and they don't know who I am. I don't know who they are. And I just, hey, Amber, I saw your property on 123 Main Street. You know, would you consider possibly selling that?
Okay, I've been getting these texts recently from all these people saying,
really?
Hey, Amber, like, do you want to sell? And they'd say my address. I'm like they knew me. I'm like,
that actually might be me texting you a little bit. Yeah.
They didn't say the name Chris.
Okay.
But
yeah,
who
exactly.
is this person?
Yeah, that's what was happening.
Okay.
And so 90% of the people you call, it's F you, leave me alone. Why are you calling me? Blah, blah, blah. It was awful. And so I'd be like, oh my God, just rejection after rejection after rejection. And so I was like, okay, I know that if I cold call for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, I'll typically get one deal. And so I was like, okay, 9 a.m. to noon every single day, I'm going to sit my ass in this chair and I'm going to make the calls I need to make.
Dude, that is some self-discipline.
And yeah, I know. And so
wow.
I would do that. And like I said, I mean, my average deal, I was making 10 grand on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, wow, if I can do this once a week, that's 40 grand a month. That's a pretty good month. And so I quickly got addicted to that. And so that was August of 2021 that I was like, okay, like I'm going to do this. And up until this point, I was still pressure washing also.
You're still pressure washing?
Yeah. So I would do a deal and then I would go like wash a house. And because I was kind of afraid to let go of it because it was steady income. I had my Facebook ad going still from that same dude that made that a year prior. And, it was generating a lot of business. And so I just kept doing that. And so I stopped doing that October of 2021. I said, I'm going to dive fully into real estate. No more pressure washing, no shenanigans. And so I had called this guy that had a house that we ended up buying and actually flipping it. And he also had an apartment building that he wanted to sell. And I was like, okay, like I want to buy your apartment complex. And he said, I'll take 1.2 million for it. And I don't know, I maybe had 20 grand at the time. I said, well, I'm a little far off. And so I was like, would you sell or finance it to me? And basically be the bank. And he's like, okay, you know what? I'll do that, but I need you to give me $200,000 down, and then I'll finance the other $1 million. I was like, okay, now I got to find 200 grand.
Oh my God. Wait a second. You're 21 and you're financing $1 million.
I was 22.
22.
Yeah.
22. And you're financing $1 million apartment complex.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Is your mind blown? My mind is like blown. Wow.
Well, yeah. And so at this time, I would go to a lot of networking events and things like that. And so I met this guy, and he was like 28 years old. So he was a young guy too. And he was like, I'm looking to get into real estate. My dad has a lot of capital though, and we want to flip a house together. And so I met this guy, I don't know, it might've been July of 2021. And so we kind of would talk every now and again, like, hey, what's going on? What are you up to? Blah, 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 blah. And so when I got this apartment building, or when I found it, I called that guy up and I said, you know what, instead of flipping a house, what if we just bought an apartment building together? And like, well, we might do that, whatever. And long story short, I ended up talking his dad into putting up the 200 grand. So this guy's dad puts up the 200 grand, the seller financed the other $1 million. And we bought this apartment complex. And so the dad and I were both owners in the building. And that was October 1st of 2021 is when we bought that. And that was the same day I said I'm doing real estate full time and not pressure washing anymore. And so from there, it's kind of just exploded. And that same guy, his name's Jim, that did that deal with me. We bought another apartment complex since then. We just bought 22 houses last week, like a portfolio of them. Yeah, and it's crazy. And so it was mind-boggling to me as well because throughout a lot of this, I never really believed in myself. I just kind of did it. And like the work kind of comes before the belief.
That's right.
And
same way for recovery, just so you know. Go ahead.
But, I sat there and thought, there's no way I can find 200 grand, or there's no way I can go raise this money and buy these things or whatever. And I don't know. It was just interesting. I don't know where I was going with that, but I found that it's really more of a belief system problem than a resource problem.
That's right. You're right. It's like the sort of limited mindset. There's a term for that though.
Growth mindset or?
Yeah, I forget though. Anyways, if you're like follow all that kind of culture, there's like a word for it. But the reason why I want you guys to hear this story, number one, because it's an amazing story and we're super proud of you. But a big thing is I want you guys to hear this story is this whole process, this listening to you talk through what you were thinking and what you did. You know what that is? That's addict thinking, people. That's addict thinking put to good use. It's that like, I want more. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. I'm going to obsess about it until I figure it out and make it happen. And there's nothing that's going to stop me. And that is addict thinking. And that's what I love about working with people with addictions. Because sometimes people say, why do you like, I'm like, dude, people with addictions are actually like usually motivated, like driven. It's that addicted personality. And all you have to do is use your superpower for the good. That's all you did.
Yeah.
You were hustling in college. You're just using your superpower for the bad.
That's right.
And sometimes it's just a bad business plan. Like literally, I have sat down with kids and said, okay, let's figure this out. You're selling weed. Let's run the numbers. All right, how much are you paying or selling for? Okay, you got to drive to them. Okay, you got to answer your phone in the middle of the night. Yeah. Like, what's your ROI?
That's right.
And if you use that same thing that you're putting into addiction, which when you're in addiction is 24/7 obsession. It's how am I going to get it? It's how am I going to sneak by? How am I going to pass this drug test? How am I constant? If you put that thinking into anything else that you want, whether you want to be a millionaire like Chris, or you want to create art, you want to write a book, whatever it is you want to do, if you will just shift your energy into that, there's no limits.
That's right. Real estate's a better ROI than weed, for sure.
Can you say that one more time?
Real estate's a better ROI than weed.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, can I get like an amen or something? Yes, it's so true. And I think for a lot of you out there, if you're wondering about recovery and you just don't love this whole what's wrong with me model, then maybe consider the what's right with me model. And I think that's what I call a strengths-based approach to recovery. Now, if you're not sure maybe what your thing is, I feel like for you, I knew you were a businessman. You kind of grew. That's why I gave you. I'm like, this is a businessman. And so I gave you the book, and I just knew. And everyone doesn't have to be a businessman, but you do have something inside of you that you need to unleash. And I promise you got better things to do than chase a substance. And everybody, you've got something inside of you that you can be doing that's worth way more than chasing a substance. Now, one of the things we do in our office is we do Enneagram.
Oh yeah, I love Enneagram.
What's your Enneagram number?
I don't know still. People told me 3.
Yeah.
And I think I can see that.
3 or 7. Probably. 3 or 7, but
I don't think I'm a 7.
You don't think you're 7? I think I was going to say 3. Other day in the kitchen, Ken was like 3. No, you're right. So he's so 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you guys have heard me talk about that a little bit, Enneagram is just understanding your personality type. And I think that's a really good way too to figure out what is the best method for my recovery. It's about understanding who you are and what your strengths are, what drives you and what motivates you. And maybe that's a good way to think about how am I going to shift my focus, right? For you, it was business, but for other people, it's music. It's something. But if you've got that obsessive ability to chase a substance, you have the obsessive ability to chase whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I also didn't really subscribe to it has power over me thing. I think that also kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Like the powerlessness?
Yeah, and I think I was kind of like, it was almost like I was going to prove to myself that no, I've got the power over this. And yeah, I can remember when I moved up here. I mean, the probation thing, I think, kind of scared me straight in a lot of ways. I think I like ruled it out in my mind as an option. I was like, I can't do drugs. I'm either going to go back to jail for 10 years or get my life together. And I'm very all or nothing. And so, and I still am. And so for me at that time, it was like, I'm just not going to do anything. Like I'm done. Like I'm throwing in the towel and forget it and move on and figure something else out. And I can remember it wasn't really that difficult once I made the decision that it was done. And I think what happens and I see this in a lot of areas of life, even with fitness or business or anything, usually people have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And they say, well, I'll be sober for a week. And, I earned it, this weekend because I had a good week. Or, even with working out, people say, oh, I don't need to go to the gym today. I went the past 2 days, so like I can take the day off. And it's that rationalizing and that 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality that I think keeps a lot of people stuck in that cycle. And at some point, you just got to make the decision and say that's it and cut off all other options.
I love that because it's not that long ago I did a video, Chris, about the idea, the whole 1 day at a time recovery idea. Yeah. And I was talking about how that's not always the best way to think because sometimes you're just like waiting. till the next time you use.
Sure.
And if you make the decision in your head, this is not who I am anymore. I'm a non-drinker. I'm a whatever. And you see yourself different, it's so much easier. You don't battle with yourself. You don't say, well, should I, won't I? My mom's not here. I've got some extra money. You just don't even go down that route because you see yourself differently. And I like that because you shifted initially because you had to.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
You're like, I'm done. But it was like I'm not trying to weasel around it. I'm just done for now.
Yeah. And I mean, people and places thing helped a lot. Never lived here, didn't know anyone that really did it.
True. Right.
That definitely helped a ton. I don't think I could have done it if I didn't move up here.
But then when you texted me last week, and then I called you and I was like, oh my gosh, tell me about it. And you were telling me. And I said, well, what about the recovery? So what about drugs and alcohol? I loved your answer. Do you remember what you said?
No.
You're saying, Brian got time for that mess. I was like, oh, I love it.
It's true. No, and see, that's the thing. So last October, I got off of probation, and I think and at that point, I bought that apartment building, and was kind of on my way doing my thing. And I can remember when I got off, I was like, man, I can't even like go back to that. There's no way. Like I have way too much going on, and it kind of became like, what do I want more? Do I want to go back into this dark hole or continue to do what I'm doing?
Right. But you, at that point, you got probation. It was a choice. You had to sort of think to yourself, like, I can, should I or shouldn't I? You had to make a choice.
Absolutely.
Okay. And not only am I proud of you, but good Lord, I'm glad that you made this other choice because you're such a businessman salesman. You would have brought the whole freaking college down. You had to come out of there because if you were selling that instead of real estate, I'm scared. Seriously. Yeah. Seriously. Okay. So use superpower's really good. Chris is a wonderful example about it. And I'll remember to go back in and put the link to that book somebody asked I saw earlier. It's called Millionaire Fastlane. I can't remember who wrote it, but I would say I read it. I don't read books. I listened to it twice. Okay. But it's a good one. If you have a question, do you have a couple minutes to take a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you have a question or a comment for Chris, if you're on live, you can put that in the chat and we'll take a couple of questions. But if you're watching on the replay or you just want to let Chris know, like give him like a thumbs up so he knows you're excited for him, just like I'm excited for him. All right, let's see who's here. It was Jennifer who's asking, what's the name of the book? It's Millionaire Fastlane. I'm just scrolling back up here. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Melanie. Thank you for telling us about the sound, Melanie. I would not have known that. We would have just kept talking. All right. Anthony's on here. Let's see what you have to say, Anthony. Anthony says, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, enjoying the day. Today, I'm thankful for my sobriety. I'm blessed to be with all of you here watching in Buffalo, New York. My favorite channel. My life is so much better than it ever was before. I want to thank you. Well, thank you, and thank you for sharing that with us. That's right. Is your life better? I don't even need to ask that, right?
Yeah, no, you don't. I mean, it's different. Okay. It's a lot different. But yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, even before this, so I can remember when I first got clean, it was getting your mind back. And I don't think you really realize how far gone you are until you're kind of back in this world and like, holy shit, I did all that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the reason why people have to get sober to want to be sober, because you don't even see it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely just like in this storm and your point of view is all skewed.
Absolutely.
It's a mess. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you can remember this, but when you run group and you're in group and you have the new person coming in and you're like on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, I know what they're going to say next. I know what they're thinking right now. They're thinking this, because you can just see it, that kind of thinking.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you saw that in group.
Yeah, absolutly.
Yeah, you can see it over and over.
Usually the same thought patterns.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I know what that person's going to say next. Yeah. And then they get irritated at you, but you still know. Okay. Let's see here if we have any questions. Susan says, wow, this is amazing and intelligent young man. Yes, you are. We should be proud of you and your accomplishments. Anthony says he's an Enneagram 8. I didn't know that about you, Anthony. Enneagram 8s are like large and in charge. They're also all or nothing people, but they're the defenders of justice. And 3s are the defenders of champion the world. Yeah. They just want to like win the world.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. Here's a question. Oh, let's see. There's a couple of questions here. The Meat-Based Kitchen says, why did the guy who financed 200,000K do it? He could have gone in alone. Good question.
Because I found the opportunity. And so a lot of the times, this guy in particular, he is one of those people. He wasn't in real estate ever. His only real estate transactions he's ever done are with me. And so he owns a business and he was good at making money, but he doesn't know how to invest it. And so I basically brought him an opportunity where, hey, instead of your money sitting in the bank, just losing to inflation and making 0.5% of return every year in the savings, you can put it in this apartment building and make money with it. And so to answer your question, I mean, usually if you find an opportunity in real estate, people will fund it. And if you get it under contract, that means you have the right to purchase it and no one else can. So essentially I had the opportunity to purchase it. And so he put up the capital.
I don't know if you noticed this, but the real answer to your question is you talked him into it. You salesman him in, hey, you'd be better off to finance this for me because you would make more money. And so you're like,
a little bit of that.
You talked him into it.
Yeah. There's an element of that too.
See, another good use of those addict skills. Conning.
But that I didn't like hoodwink him into.
No, you weren't trying to get him to do anything bad.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You said this is why this is a good route for you to go.
That's right. And afterwards, and even to this day, he'll still be like, man, I wouldn't have these opportunities without you. I mean, he's grateful that I come to him with these opportunities because he's running his own business. He doesn't have time to sit here and find these.
Right. And so it's about putting superpowers together.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. For someone college age, it sounds like you are an advocate for changing your environment. If you're an addict, won't you find drugs wherever you are? Good question.
And I think that's where the probation element came in. I think that I was in a place where I said, I don't want to go back to jail more than anything. And I think if I didn't have that looming over my head, it would have been a lot more difficult. And I think that really deterred me from doing it. Because like I said earlier, I mean, originally I thought, I'll get off probation and then just go back to the same thing I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that later changed. But in the beginning, I think the only thing that kept me out of trouble was the fact that I was already in trouble.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think I would have had a much harder time.
Really hot water.
That's right.
Really hot, not just like a little, but a lot.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. I think that was an excellent question because there's this idea a lot of times for people who are struggling with addiction. In recovery, we call it geographical cure. And it's this idea that like, it's just this town, it's just this school, it's just these people, it's my job. And if I just get away from it, I'm going to be okay. They call it geographical cure. And in and of itself, if you just change your town, your location or whatever, and you think that's going to make the problem go away, that will not make the problem go away. The problem will follow you, just like what you're saying. If you have it in your head, I want to change, and you understand what the problem is, or you have like serious accountability like Chris, and you pair that with a new location and a fresh start. Now that's a good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think even the reason that you start using drugs plays a role also. I mean, I think sometimes, especially when you're young, I mean, a lot of it's just, I want to have fun with my friends, or I want to feel like the man because I'm selling drugs to everyone. So everyone kind of becomes your friend then.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that some people that are running from something bigger, it can be harder to get out of that mindset because, like you said, it does follow you.
Well, I think that's a good point. Like sometimes people are maybe using to self-medicate something, I think is what you're saying. And that can be hard to get away from. But even with what you're saying, which I'm glad you said that, which is I like to feel like the man or whatever. A lot of people have as much trouble giving up the lifestyle as they do the substance.
Absolutely.
Like, because there's a lure to the lifestyle. Right? Like the thought of I'm going to sell drugs and make money in theory sounds kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
In reality, it's not so great because you get them lawyer fees.
That's right. Yeah,
You gotta go
that's
treatment,
right. I think I
it's like-
ultimately lost money after paying for attorneys and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You got to calculate that in. Or like when someone steals from you or something. I mean, yeah, you got to calculate all that in if you're trying to businessman that.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't even spend the money because you can't report it.
That's right.
You can't really put it in the bank.
And then you got to get like Jesse Pinkman and law.
That's
It's
right.
just a
Yeah,
mess.
that's
It's
right.
a mess. Okay. Okay. So is there anything, or what would you want anyone to watch this? Is there any message you want out there? Is it something you want people to know?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I think something that stuck with me forever, that I got this from Tony Robbins: the story you tell yourself becomes your reality. And I think that everyone, no matter what it is telling themselves a story about it. Whether it's, hey, I think that girl's cute, but she probably won't like me because of X, Y, and Z. Or I can't lose weight because I'm big boned and X, Y, and Z. Or
Right.
I can't be successful because I don't know how. And so everyone has some sort of story that they're telling themselves. And from the beginning, even when I would go into group and talk about my grandiose ideas, the story that I was telling myself, for better or worse, was, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to figure it out. And I don't care what you say.
I can do it. I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And still today, I tell myself that same story, because that I know that the message I tell myself is what's going to ultimately happen.
It's 100% true what you're saying. And a story that I hear a lot for people struggling using this is the story you're telling yourself is, life's going to suck without it. You're telling yourself that you're going to be missing out. You're telling yourself everybody else gets to and you feel left out. You're telling yourself like you're missing something great. That's the story you're telling yourself that you believe in, and that's why you're staying stuck.
Absolutely.
And you can easily decide to shift that story to, no, like, I'm leaving this behind so I can have all this other great stuff, so I don't have to miss out. It's a mind shift.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that, and in terms of the success side of it, again, I didn't, like, the belief did not come until actually recently. And I think that it was a lot of frustration. I think a lot of people think that, like, oh man, you made it and you're young, but it was not easy. And it was not, especially mentally, because it's a lot of, can I actually do this? Like, I had a lot of times where the story I started to tell myself was, maybe I can't do this, or maybe I'm not right for this, or, I see these guys on YouTube doing it, but that's not really me.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk.
Right. A lot of that. And it's just a lot of frustration trying to figure out how to make it happen. And anyways, I don't think a lot of people ever talk about that side of it, but it's very real.
Yeah, it's not all just uphill. There's ups and downs. There's doubt that comes in, but there's a commitment. And if you stay in the commitment, you're going to get there.
That's right. And even, when you reflect back, you can say, oh, I met that guy and he led me to this and this happened because of that. But when you're in that moment, when you're meeting that guy, you don't realize that's what's happening. And so that's what a lot of the time I thought I wasn't going anywhere really, because I was only making, I don't know, $5,000 a month or whatever it was, pressure washing. I was like, dude, I'm not going to make $1 million sitting here getting $60,000 a year. But that led me to meeting the people that I needed to meet. And at that time, I didn't realize that's what was happening. And I was so frustrated, but I didn't know that I was on the journey the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of, I wish I was more aware of that the journey's unfolding. You just don't really realize it.
Right. And I want to say this, because some people might be hearing you say that and then maybe think, oh, he's just lucky he met that guy who was new, or then he met that guy on Facebook. That's not true. Let me tell you the truth about that. The truth about that is, you have to have your mindset in such a way that you're open to seeing those opportunities. It's not just luck. It's because you're looking for it. You find it. It's not just this person appeared, because if you don't have the right mindset, all those people appear in your life, but you don't realize that's an opportunity to take.
That's right.
Or you tell yourself, like, that's ridiculous. I can't, like, finance $1 million. The limiting beliefs, like you said. So it's luck. I mean, yeah, you got these people, but it's mindset. And it's openness. That's right. It's being able to see it happen too.
That's right. And I mean, those people are everywhere though. And I can remember I met with a lot of people. I was like, oh, this is going to turn into something. They're going to lend me money. And it didn't happen. I mean, that wasn't the first guy I talked to and it turned into something. I mean, prior to that was hundreds of people where I was trying to raise money or just trying to network with successful people to hopefully pick something or take something away from them or whatever. But yeah, I do think there's a small element of luck, but I do think the more intentional you get about things, the luckier you get.
Right. Right. You work. Luck comes to those people who work hard.
That's
That's the
right.
saying I've heard. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Chris, for being here.
Absolutely.
I have put the link in the description for Recovery U if you're interested in finding out your personality type and how do you apply that to recovery and how you can kind of use your own strengths to maximize your life and get where you want to get. It's all in there. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I
See you
enjoyed
guys
that.
next week.